The practical effects in this movie, it feels like, for the most part, it feels pretty real, and it feels well done. There's some shots here and there that like it's just super obvious that it's like a miniature or whatever, or even at the end when the graboid hits the ground and just explodes like a damn watermelon. Drive-by movies. My name's Blaise.
I'm James.
And never have I ever seen Tremors.
Kevin Bacon. Fred Ward. Tremors.
Tremors is a 1990, pretty much a cult classic, I'd say, by this time. It's directed by Ron Underwood, and it stars Kevin Bacon, our favorite hero from Footloose, of course, and it also has Fred Ward and Finn Carter.
Natives of a small, isolated town defend themselves against strange underground creatures which are killing them one by one. So this is essentially like Jaws, but in a desert. I feel like that's definitely the vibe that I caught from Tremors. It was my first time viewing it, but I have to say, this movie is just a simple premise and everything goes right for these script writers. I feel like it's just such a fun movie to watch. It's about these, these blue collar workers, Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward. And I mean, they're just your everyday blue collar type of guys. I don't even know are they handyman? Like, because they're cleaning out septic tanks. They're like taking up junk. They're just driving around the town that has like a population of 14 and just getting shit done.
Basically, they're just like freelancers of the town. They're the young guys that like don't mind getting their hands dirty. Like, just someone in town has some kind of work that needs to get done, and so they just do that essentially.
Yeah, and I think that like their camaraderie made the movie, and just like they weren't like, it's not like something like Tucker and Dale versus Evil where they're so stupid that like they make the film like funny. It's that these guys are like, they got a good head on their shoulders. Like you said, they're freelancers. They're just getting shit done, like trying to make ends meet. And they are kind of the first ones to discover that there is something plaguing their town and taking people out. And I felt like their discovery on like these creatures, they're called graboids, but they're essentially these huge giant landworms, and just their discovery of these creatures and like kind of navigating this new world in which they find out about graboids, it made the movie like so much. It just made it so much. It's just like a fun movie. Like, it just feels like something that you pull up to a drive-in cinema and then this would be on and it would not disappoint.
Oh, right, exactly. I don't know if it's done any drive-ins or like a midnight crowd, but we keep saying that for Never Have I Ever. Also, some of our direct-to-dumpster movies as well too. But it's just a really satisfying that money perfect. That's not even a real phrase, but I'm coining it a phrase. That money perfect sweet spot of 90 minutes. It's just like really fun thrill ride. Who thinks of a plot about crazy man-eating earthworms and stuff? And I don't really know what earthworms look like close up, but just the idea of seeing these like little mini snakes or mini earthworms coming out of its mouth is just like hilarious and creepy and gross. And just like when they explode or crash into something in this movie, they're just like really like, it's so disgusting and so funny. Makes some of the like better moments of the movie.
Yeah, most definitely. And it was actually really a pleasant surprise. Last week we watched Big Trouble in Little China, and it was cool to see Victor Wong appear in this film.
Right, yeah, I was so surprised on that.
Yeah, but I have to say it was kind of messed up that he's like one of the only people, I mean, besides like the first couple of people that die, he's like one of the main people that goes down. Like, I felt like...
Yeah, everyone kind of dies off screen for the most part. He's really there are people who die, but it's not really characters that are anything towards the plot. It's just like, oh, it's this person's turn to die when they were never introduced before. He's the only person who's developed and then dies, and like, oh.
Yeah, and it's the only thing I was cracking up. Like, he played Egg Shen in Big Trouble in Little China, and I think he's a good actor. You see him in a lot of John Carpenter things, but I just was disappointed that he went down. I felt like he could have delivered much more if he stayed till the end of this film.
Right, yeah. But yeah, I mean, just like seeing how close knit everyone is with this, little, what was it called? Perfection.
Yeah, Perfection, Nevada.
It was just like cute to see how close everyone is. I mean, there's less than 10, like it looked like less than 15 people for the most part.
I think the population's literally 14. I'm almost positive.
Yikes, yeah. I know like towns like that where just like, you know, there's of course counties that are nearby and stuff, but just like the idea that like there's counties that small and just like how like isolated you are from the rest of the world if something bad were to happen. Like that's got to be a scary thing, and just like it makes a cool plot and does add a lot of stakes when just like, hey, you know, like no one's gonna be here for weeks and stuff, so like we're really on our own and stuff, and just like it's cool to see them come together, and it works out really well. I love pretty much every character in this movie, and Kevin Bacon, like I haven't seen him in the most movies, but it was fun to rewatch this movie. It almost felt like watching for the first time again. But I just remember renting this as a kid. Like when I used to stay at my grandparents' place in San Francisco, we'd always watch Joe Bob Briggs Friday nights. I'd always go on weekends and stuff, and then that Saturday we'd rent a movie, and I'd always rent a horror film because my parents were very strict on what kind of horror films I was allowed to watch, but my grandparents like, get whatever horror film you watched, and I remember Tremors was one of them.
Yeah, and I have to say, I would have been stoked if I watched this as a kid. And I know I had passed this movie up so many times on Sci-Fi Channel late at night. I was like, it's like the desert. I wasn't into Westerns as a child. I wasn't into like that kind of ambiance. Obviously, this isn't a Western, but it has that same ambiance, like the desert. It's all hot and arid. But as I get older, it's like a fine wine. Like it's intoxicating to just see this like heat. These guys kind of roughing it. They're not cowboys, but they got that same vibe of cowboys. I mean, you also have the character, I forget the name of the character, but it was the survivalists. They kind of seem like the more cowboy type characters because they have all these guns in their like underground bunker, essentially.
With food to survive for 5 years.
Yeah, that's as cowboy as the film gets. But that scene was absolutely hilarious. Freaking cracked me up. Mm-hmm. And just the practical effects in this movie are really, it reminds me of something like Ray Harryhausen, where it's just like, it feels like, for the most part, it feels pretty real, and it feels well done. There's some shots here and there that like, it's just super obvious that it's like a miniature or whatever, or even at the end when the graboid hits the ground and just explodes like a damn watermelon. But it just makes I think it makes the film more fun, because at the end of the day, this film was a huge throwback to a lot of those big monster movies from the 50s, like Them, or you know, other films that, you know, took these larger than life creatures and put them in our backyards.
Yeah. You know, that's also like one thing that's missing from a lot of modern horror films, or just like fun action kind of suspense thriller movies, is seeing the point of view from the killer and stuff. Like that's what makes Jaws so effective at times. I think, of course, the music helps too. And then Steven Spielberg's like, you know, considered one of the greatest directors of all time. But just seeing the shark's point of view is always a scary thing. And then seeing the worm's point of views and just seeing like the ground move, like just seeing those like you know, the little like shapes move along the ground and stuff, like those are really like creepy moments, and just builds a lot of tension and stuff. And like just like that little use right there was just a lot of fun, I thought. Yeah,
most definitely. I thought that like having the little creature effects that aren't even really creatures, like the ground moving, like you're saying, it just adds that extra element of suspense, but also adds like fun. It's the same as like in Jaws, when you see that shark fin pop up, or you see that shark fin creeping along, you're like, oh, yikes, something's gonna happen here, you know?
Are you a big fan of country music though, Blaise?
No, I forget who's there. Someone was a country music singer in this though. I remember her name, but I can't remember it now. But I remembered it while I was watching the film.
None other than, I just always remember her show on, well, it's now called the CW, but I forgot what it used to be called when I was a kid, but Reba, yeah.
Yeah, the cast, there's only so many people, so it really gives those casts and these characters a time to shine. So, and the script really like utilizes these different characters, the different archetypes you have going for characters like Finn Carter, who's, you know, the seismologist who's come out to, you know, investigate. She's kind of almost she's not the catalyst, but she essentially instigates that something might be up, and there's, you know, reason for all these seismology readings. And then just Kevin Bacon, you know, he has like this relationship that he's kind of like starting to try and like go for, seeing him, you know, go full circle at the very end and like, you know, really risk it. for the biscuit, I guess you could say.
I dig it.
I don't know. It's just like it was lighthearted, you know. Like he's a gentleman, and it just overall the movie is just a ton of fun. It's like the perfect. It's not the perfect movie, but it's like it has everything going for it to be a cult success, and there's a reason that, you know, there's 5 Tremors movies. I've only seen bits of the third one, and that's the one where they can fly. So it really goes full circle, because his last line in the film.
Yeah! Can you fly, you sucker? Can you fly?
And like they really go full circle. In the third one, these graboids have wings and legs, so it's just like it's kind of hilarious how much like it feels like, from an outsider's perspective, it feels like the franchise is really made for its fans. So maybe I'll have to check out some of the other Tremors films, because I really did enjoy this one.
Yeah, I haven't seen the rest, but yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Like you said, it's just overall just a really satisfying movie. It's not like by any means like the best movie ever, but if it's your favorite movie, I can see why. It's a movie that I could just see it being on, and just like it's just easy to watch at any time of the year and stuff. So it's a really fun revisit for me. So yeah, if you guys haven't seen Tremors though, you know, best way to help us out is by watching the movie itself in our Amazon affiliate link in our description box, and leave a comment. Let us know what you thought about the movie and our thoughts on it.
And if you haven't already, guys, smash that like button, click the subscription button if you're not subscribed, and if you aren't already, hit that notification bell.
Drive-By Movies, we are concluding this week's episode of Never Have I Ever. Tune in next week for a brand new video.